Merry Christmas, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is King Noosme. No funny jokes, no jump scares in this intro.
Yet.
There has been this little show that's been recommended to me quite a lot recently. A lot of you guys have recommended this show called Creeped Out to me, and I had heard of it, but I've never watched it. I just thought it was like a regular kids horror TV show. I thought the mass majority of people had heard of this show, but when I ran a poll about it, a majority of you guys had no idea what it was, which kind of shocked me because it got recommended so much. I just thought that it was a thing everybody had watched. So I checked out a few episodes. I came across a little holiday episode I thought I would talk about. But before we get into that, since we're talking about a new show, I'm going to give you a little bit of background to it. Creeped Out is an anthology children's horror show that aired on the CBBC in the UK, but was released as a Netflix original in the US and I believe Canada. I think Canada had it on some channel, but I'm not sure. Every episode starts with this little guy they call the Curious. Apparently he's a story collector, so each episode that we see is a story that he has collected somewhere along the way. Nobody knows where this guy came from. The only thing they know about him is that when you hear his whistle, spooky things are gonna happen. Ooh, scary. And he doesn't ever say anything, but while he's on the screen, there is a narrator that asks somewhat of a rhetorical question, kind of like the Twilight Zones. Like every Twilight Zone episode started with a question. But like I said before, today we're going to be talking about the holiday episode Splinta Claus. But like claws is spelled like claws, like a cat. It's a pun on Santa Claus. Anyways, so we start the episode with test. What do we start the episode with? I just told you. All right, I'm watching you. So we start the episode with the Curious standing outside of the small whistling. Ooh, spooky. When the narrator asks,
but are there good and bad Santas as well? If the real Jolly Saint Nick brings you joy, then what might a fake, jinxed Saint Nick bring?
Then we get to meet one of the main characters of this episode, Lawerance. While he's walking around, a creepy Santa animatronic says this while standing behind him.
I'm watching you. Always watching.
And when Lawerance turns around to see him, he starts malfunctioning a little bit. So Lawerance gets in there and gets his hands a little dirty and fiddles with the wires a little bit, and he makes things worse. Starts vibrating so bad that its face falls off and it scares a bunch of little kids. But don't worry, his face is back on his head literally 1 second later. It's almost like they forgot that his face falls off in this scene and they forgot to add it into the episode. Lawerance then gets in trouble by a man that takes his job a little too seriously to be a mall elf at least, and he gets returned to his mom. And his mom shows us this gift that she got for their grandmother. She gets his grandmother a necklace of his granddad's ashes to give to her while she's sick in the hospital. And Lawerance seems to think this is a little bit weird at first, but he seems to warm up to it when he notices how important it is to his mom that his grandmother gets this. And now he gets the task of the most important thing a kid can do, the most important, most honorable task you could give a child ever. He needs to get this box and put it in another box. That's all he has to do. Apparently there's a free Christmas delivering service at this mall currently, so all he has to do is get the gift and put it in the drop box, and then he's done. That's all he has to do. He can't possibly fuck this up, can he? Then we get to meet our other main character, Mikey, and he's gonna spend the night with Lawerance for the night. But Mikey's a bit nervous to leave his mom's side because last time he did, apparently there was an accident that happened. But his mom convinces him by telling him to just go be a boy, have fun for once. This is when Mikey and Lawerance start texting to find a place to meet up at. And as they're texting, Lawerance sets his granddad precariously on this rail. And after he's done texting, he sees himself on these TVs, and this sets him in some kind of trance. For some reason, all he can do is walk backwards like he has a full diaper. And he knocks his granddad into a cart full of other presents that look exactly like his. Crazy. But it's fine. He saw where it went, so he chases the girl down and tries to get her to give him his granddad back, but
Where do you think you're going?
part-time elf boy gets in the way. Lawerance tries to explain what happened and tries to get his granddad back. The part-time elf man has beef with this 12-year-old kid for some reason and just won't listen to him at all. Like seriously, what he did earlier really wasn't that bad. He just messed around with an animatronic Santa a little bit and made it jiggle a little bit. It's fine. He's fine. You're acting like this kid stole Jesus's foreskin or something. I don't know. Anyways, after he gets told to go away one last time, the animatronic Santa asks him a question.
Are you a nice child or a naughty child?
And Lawerance answers,
Naughty child.
Creepy Santa then gives him a wink and tells him, with a wink of my eye and a twist of my head, we'll soon let you know you have nothing to dread. Which is just weird and creepy. Then Santa has another seizure. Elf Boy goes and fixes Santa one more time, and this is when we get a little bit of lore about the Santa. Apparently, around 30 years ago, there was this giant power surge in the mall, and it was so powerful that it went through the Santa and knocked his metal hands off, and it left these jagged metal fingers, almost like claws. But when they were fixing him, they didn't feel like fixing his hands for some reason. So they just rewired him and then put mittens on his hands. It's honestly weird that they didn't just like, you know, throw him away. He's just trash now. Just throw him away. You need a new one anyways. He fucking has a seizure every 5 minutes. Lawerance catches up with his mom and then lies to her about losing the present.
Yeah, how hopeless you think I am?
She then asks if Lawerance is going to Mikey's house or if Mikey is coming to their house. And Lawerance lies and says that he's going to Mikey's house. And you think the parents would communicate a little bit better, like at least drop their kids off while talking to each other. But no, they just give each other thumbs up and leave their kids in the mall by themselves. This is when Lawerance takes the opportunity to get his granddad back. So he kicks Mikey behind a desk and they wait there until closing time. Apparently nobody's gonna walk behind this counter for 8 hours. The mall finally closes and the boys take some time to explore a little bit before they get the present. Well, Lawerance takes the time to explore while Mikey's just nervous and anxious about the whole situation. So to make him feel better, Lawerance grabs the presents and they start to leave until
Naughty child.
Santa tries to attack Lawerance. But luckily he's tethered to the wall by this outlet.
I'm watching you this year.
Freaked out, the boys run away and they go into an elevator to get away from Santa while he slowly shuffles towards them at a very slow pace. Kind of reminds me of that one episode of Wizards of Waverly Place where they like were inside that horror movie and it was like that small guy that just walked very slowly with a hairdryer. You know what I'm talking about? Do you guys remember that? Let me know if you know that in the comments below. Anyways, the boys use the elevator to get upstairs, which is slightly genius because he's an animatronic. He can't walk upstairs. How is he gonna get upstairs to them? He really can if you think. Oh yeah, they used the elevator to get upstairs. Of course, the boys run again. They hide and they try to talk about the situation, try to assess what's going on. At first, Mikey thinks it's just a prank somebody's pulling on them for them, you know, breaking the rules and staying in the mall overnight. And Lawerance kind of agrees with this until
Be good. Who paid the price?
slowly but surely, Santa finds the boys hiding. And when they try to escape once again, Lawerance accidentally trips and gets tangled in a bunch of wires. And this is when we get a little bit of a twist from Santa.
Naughty child. Nice child.
See, this Santa doesn't punish naughty kids. This Santa punishes the nice ones. So he starts coming at Mikey very slowly again, and Lawerance grabs a large candy cane from somewhere and smacks him off the ledge, knocking him a story down and breaking him. But this isn't the end of Splinta Claus. Oh my god, where's his face? Santa chases them again with a slightly faster shuffle. The boys take refuge in this small house in this place that the mall calls the North Pole for this event. The boys talk about why this Santa would possibly chase nice kids instead of naughty kids when Lawerance tells Mikey about the power surge that happened. But Lawerance wasn't in the conversation where we learned about the power surge thing, so I don't know how he knows that happened. It also might have something to do with Lawerance fiddling with his wires earlier. And when Mikey hears about this, he's not too happy with Lawerance, and he kind of lays into him a little bit about it.
I'm sorry. That's your get out of jail card, isn't it? Every time!
Lawerance tries to use this excuse that he's the naughty kid, like it's just what he does, but it's not a good excuse. You have full control over your action. Terrible excuse, dude. Terrible excuse. But right now, they don't have time to argue because Splinta Claus is catching up to them faster than he was before. And they quickly come up with a plan to get rid of him. Lawerance tells Mikey to stay in the house and be bait for a second. And when Santa gets close enough, Mikey runs out the same door Lawerance went out of. Lawerance closes the other door, trapping Santa Claus in the house. They successfully trap him in the house and they start to celebrate until Santa starts taking off his gloves. Then we get an amazing reference to the movie The Shining. The boys run to the front door and find that it's locked. No shit, it's nighttime. It closed. You know what closed means? Closed, locked. So they run back upstairs to try to escape him again, but Santa shows us that he's a little bit more flexible than we thought. I mean, he can walk up the stairs, by the way. What were you thinking? But before Santa can get to Mikey, Lawerance yells at him to do something naughty and he will stop coming after you. So Mikey just pushes down a Christmas tree and this deems him unworthy of Santa murder. If you really think about it, he should have been deemed naughty when he agreed to stay the night in the mall. Because that's breaking and entering. Well, it's not really breaking. Is it breaking and entering? What is that? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. The boys sit down and have another conversation about the situation. Mikey is still upset that he is stuck in this situation. He's kind of worried that what they're doing right now is going to get his mom fired from her job. And the only reason he's here is because Lawerance doesn't think before he acts. Pretty much Mikey just tears into Lawerance again, but as he's tearing into Lawerance, Mikey is playing with his mother's staff keycard that can open the door. And when Lawerance notices this, he starts to lay into Mikey a little bit as well.
You see, that's the difference between me and you.
My mouth might go a million miles per hour, but so does my brain too.
He even pushes him into this giant mailbox that has a bunch of letters to Santa in. This is when Mikey starts to pick up the letters a little bit, but Lawerance tells him to stop because he's being a good kid again. This is when Lawerance starts to pick up a few of the notes and read what these kids want for Christmas. Most of the notes are pretty rude, honestly, but he also picks up Mikey's note and it reads,
I wish I wasn't such a burden.
Talks about how he's feels like a burden to everyone and his mom, and that's why he's so anxious and nervous about everything all the time. This is when Lawerance does something nice, in my opinion.
Mikey, you're no burden. You're perfect. Too perfect.
Apparently, the attempt to pick up the letters is enough to deem Mikey a nice kid again, so Splinta Claus is back on the prowl. I'm kind of like interchanging Santa and Splinta Claus. I think his name is Splinta Claus, but he's also Santa Claus, so my brain goes Santa. Brain goes Santa, hidden name Splinta. Don't know how it works, my brain dumb. Now that they have Mikey's mom's card, Mikey tells Lawerance the plan to escape the mall using the emergency exits. And when they get to the door, Lawerance realizes that he left his granddad in the mall again. So he puts a little reindeer in the door to act as a doorstop and starts walking back into the mall when someone familiar passes by. Santa walks by, heading for Mikey, trying to kill him, and Lawerance tries his best to stop him, but apparently this 3-foot-tall animatronic is just way too powerful and he can't stop him. So Santa makes it through, but luckily there is a piece of garland tied to the reindeer that he's using as a doorstop. So Lawerance pulls the door closed, saving Mikey. But saving someone is the nice thing to do, isn't it?
I'm a good boy.
And Lawerance can't fathom the idea of him being a good child for some reason. But now he's deemed nice and he has to run from Santa by himself. This is when he finds a small door in the mall and decides to hide from Santa in there. And when he gets inside, he finds that it's a window display to the mall. He tries banging on the window, calling for help, but nobody comes to help. And he gets captured by Santa. Just kidding, Mikey comes to save the day. And then they change the rules to Santa's naughty, nice child thing again. Apparently Santa now just knows when something naughty is gonna happen, rather than before when he just kind of reacted as it was happening. But I know what you're thinking. What are they gonna do that's so naughty? Oh, well, they do something quite naughty indeed. I sound like Freaky Fred from Courage the Cowardly Dog right now.
Naughty.
The boys drop Splinta Claus down a random chimney. Now Splinta Claus has free reign on this innocent little girl. Murder. They murder a little girl. Now this is naughty. Murder is not nice. Murder is not a good thing to do. Please don't murder people. It's the naughtiest thing you can do, I think. And we end off the episode with the curious pulling out one of Splinta Claus' fingers from the door. And that's the end of the episode. Pretty good episode. A nice one to start on, honestly. This has been Creeped Out. Creeped Out's actually a pretty decent show. I watched a few more episodes of it. Some people think it's better than The Haunting Hour and Goosebumps. I think I'm biased to those two because they've made me money. Let me know what you think about Creeped Out in the comments below. If you want to see me talk about more Creeped Out episodes, let me know in the comments below. Just a few episodes. I'll watch them. I'll see if they're worthy of a video. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate you all, and peace.